Hello and thanks for staying with us. It's time for Political Platform on Repa FM. My name is Amechi Anapwe. Now, the presidential candidates have been busy moving around, campaigning, making speeches, doing consultations. Atiku Abubakar was in Lagos. The PDP campaign trail made a stopover in Lagos State. In London, it was the APC's Bola Tinubu speaking at Chatham House. With a lot of controversy trailing it. There he indeed said he has plans to turn Nigeria around. Peter Obi of the Labour Party met with some elders, political leaders and elders of the Northeast Geopolitical Zone in Abuja. And the Senate says the National Social Investment Program of the federal government is not just a failure but a nullity. Senate Committee clears Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed over 206 billion naira defense spending inserted on the proposed 2023 budget. We have some of my colleagues here with me. Abulo Semoragu is there, and of course, Hizo Jemomo is also here. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Amechi, good morning, and good morning, dear listener. It's a bright morning. Tuesday morning, and we know that schools are bubbling with exams. We wish the children all the best as they write their second term examination. The politicians are doing their thing. As you rightly said, Amechi, it wasn't surprising to see Babachi Lawal, the former SGF, in the camp, in the company of the Labour Party presidential candidate when he met to the Northeast. And it wasn't also surprising to some persons when they saw Dogara, former Speaker, House of Representatives, at the gathering of the PDP when they took campaign to Lagos. And as you know, Tinubu was at Chatham House, and he had Umahi, Nasir El-Rufai, Ayade in his company. Amechi, one would say that the Dogara and Babachiel issue of jumping ship to separate political parties will not hold water. Some persons were saying, what is their political weight? And for example, they say Babachi Lawa has not contested and won election. Some persons have said, oh, Dogara has contested and won election. So that depends on what Nigerians feel about their movement from the APC.
What do you say of the message Atiku Abubakar dropped in Lagos?
Now, Atiku Abubakar, in 2019, Amechi, he made that comment also, which infuriated a section of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, where he said he was going to sell the NNPC. And he is repeating the same thing now, saying that he's going to set aside $10 billion for youth unemployment and to create jobs. And he said how will he get that money? By selling the Port Harcourt refinery, Warri refinery, Kaduna refineries. And you see, he knows his plans. As politicians, we believe they must have sat down with experts to take or to come to the public with certain decisions or certain proposals, how to change the economy. After all, Peter Obi has been saying that he wants to move from consumption to production. He knows his onions. He knows who he has met in the economy, and to take that line, okay. I think Atiku knows where he's driving at. Amechi, quickly on...
Hizoje, Mama, let's bring in Hizoje, and of course, Teveti also joining us. Hizoje, Atiku Abubakar said he was going to sell off the refineries. Bulu said he got some backlash in 2019, and he's still repeating it. I recall in 2007, just before Olusegun Obasanjo, the then president, left office, few days before he left office, he consummated the sale of one of the refineries, the main refinery in Port Harcourt, to the Dangote Group. Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, his successor, his hand-picked successor, rolled back that decision, retrieved that and said, we are going to manage it. NNPC will continue to manage it. Now, NNPC has been managing these refineries since then, as we speak. Turnaround maintenance, refurbishment, yet it's still not working. Would it have been different if that refinery had been sold during that period? Do you think it could have been turned around by the Dangote Group then, or are we likely going to be where we are today?
Good morning, Amechi. Good morning, listener. The issue of business, like they always say, you always hear people say government has no business in business. That's usually when government is in business, because of the fact that there's always there are so many things that you always have to factor in, and that in itself affects the business. You want to look at other assets, even because I know on this program we have spoken about the Nigerian Airways, very promising institution, but what happened to that institution? Government was in business, and that run that business down. The issue of having private hands in business, you look at the NLNG example, the fact that the NLNG is being managed, has private equity
51%
involved
by the oil company,
you see,
and 49% by the Nigerian government.
You see what returns comes from the NLNG, and over the years it has proven that is a good model. If we have that kind of situation in NNPC, no doubt the NNPC will be, because you ask a question.
And the current GMD made statements in the past as to that being the direction. But after that statement, he had not followed it up with any action. Very soon, we were told, is it December or January, that one of the refineries will come on stream. The same NNPC managing it. Should we sell off or concession and equity, joint equity ownership? Which one should be the best for the country?
I'm looking at a situation whereby it should be a kind of arrangement that will have the private sector running. The private sector should run. The government should be behind. When you have the government involved in it, there's this element of wanting to, take out of it. Government is always taking
like a cow.
Because of the bureaucratic
bottlenecks in
government,
to grow, how to expand, how to create new network, and it must work, because it has to work for you to be able to get more to take. Because if you keep taking, you run it down.
Like a cow. Have you seen a cow killed by a vehicle along the road? The owners of the cow may see it as fate and continue with the rest of the other cows. Then the community members will now rush with their knives and their bows, and whatever they take is what they go home with. That's Nigeria for you. When you throw up an institution, an enterprise for public management, whoever goes there sees it as a cow killed by a vehicle, and whatever you can cut from it is your own. That's why we are where we are today. That's why Ethiopian Airline is owned 100% by the Ethiopian government and is making profit, and has even come to operate our own airline. So what can we do differently, Tebetiaf, on this refinery thing? Because if you look at NNPC's annual books, they spend hundreds of billions of naira on these refineries that are not working.
Amechi, good morning to you. Good morning, listener. As we speak, if you drive around Abuja, you discover that most of the fuel stations dispensing the product at NNPC retail outlets, most of the independent marketers have shut down. Most of the major marketers have also shut down operations. We all know that they are working towards the route to get to 220, 230, 250 naira per liter, and I can tell you that if they succeed in getting that through, the next minute all of them will open their stations and will be selling. Now they are pretending they don't have product, but once they agree on the price, everybody, as if they brought the product overnight for all of them. What am I driving at? We are seeing the role of NNPC, and don't forget, before now, the independent and major marketers used to hold the country, to ransom, because they were the ones with the outlets until NNPC decided, to go into retail. So there is much more that we can do. I agree that our economy will develop, and we'll get to that point where the private sector will take the lead in almost all sectors. But right now, with what we have and where we are, the public sector must be involved. And the issue also is the persons at the helm of affairs and how they handle the matter. We've seen fuel subsidy over the years, nothing has happened. We've seen oil theft in recent times and all of that. What have we seen? So we will definitely get there someday. But as it is now, the NLNG model, for instance, has worked well, and I think that is the way for us to go. The beautiful thing is, Amechi, with the long period of campaigns, we're beginning to see, the candidates answer the how that most of us, have, been putting forward. When Atiku talked about the 10 billion dollars,
yes.
For entrepreneurs and all of that. We asked, how will he get the money? Yesterday he told us he will sell all the refineries, and by the time he sells all of them, he will have the 10 billion to create entrepreneurs and all of that. It's there for Nigerians to buy into that or disagree whether that is the best way to go. Peter Obi, for instance, at the town hall meeting they had on Sunday, when they asked him about food security and all of that, he said, look, Bank of Industry, he will give them money, perhaps recapitalize them and give loans to farmers. And then those of us who are farmers will now look at it. Is it the loans that we want? Is there any other thing that we're looking at? So you now have a choice to decide on what to do. Yesterday at Chatham House, Tinubu, for instance, on the questions that he answered, one was on the issue of the diaspora voting, for instance, where he said, look, we're having, INEC is struggling with the beavers and all of that. Well, by the time we see it in 2023 general election, possibly we'll consider. But that gives a clear idea that he is not for diaspora voting in the next one or two elections.
The statements from there suggest that perhaps APC is still, APC is still not very comfortable with the beavers and the electronic transmission of results. Because Tinubu said INEC is here to give 100% assurance that it will work perfectly, especially the transmission of results.
Somebody whispered to me and to ask if the presidential candidate of the APC is confident of himself to start with. Is he confident of himself to start with in this into this election? Because they asked him some questions and he delegated the questions to his party members, and that raised a lot of questions. How sure are we that the APC and its presidential candidate are ready to accept the guidelines INEC is setting down for election? We need to ask these questions because the presidential candidate did not attend the peace accord signing. He had not attended some debates by some media houses, and he raised an accusation yesterday that they want to make money out of him. For heaven's sakes, Amici, how can the presidential candidate make that kind of statement? We need an apology as I'm a practitioner. So we need an apology. You cannot just point finger. This is a man that owns TV stations and radio stations and is making that kind of vulgar statement. Apologies, please. You cannot come to Liverpool. Yes, you cannot say they want to make money out of you now. Is it not a good thing for me to make money out of Tinubu?
Well,
it's a good thing for me but the issue you have raised, Amici, on the beavers, we have crossed that part. INEC say no going back, and I don't think any presidential candidate should raise any other eyebrow concerning beavers. Beavers is going to be used just like the card reader were used in the past elections. Beavers,
but they have a right to continue to question it till they get reassurance.
Do we have that time to entertain this questioning, Amici? That's the question. Do we have the time? Does INEC have the time to entertain this question?
INEC, just a few days ago told us that they have scheduled a meeting with all the telecoms operators, all the GSM operators, including the National Communications Commission. And perhaps the other agency involved in it. INEC believes the capacity is there. A lot of people believe not every part of the country is covered, but some people are optimistic that if we do the right steps, all we need to do is just a little effort, and we can guarantee this transmission. I ask again, in 2014, 2015, PDP was opposed to card reader introduction. 2022, 2023, APC is uncomfortable with beavers and election results transmission. Why are the ruling parties afraid of innovation? Is it that when you bring in an innovation, a ruling party loses the election, or do they have real genuine complaints over this?
Well, Amici, I think one thing I've heard was is that the repeated assurance, given by INEC to Nigerians that both electronic voting and transmission of results, that it stays. That in itself is one assurance, that many Nigerians, have held on to. Because if INEC comes out to begin to speak in a manner or tone that is shaky, then you begin to also say, okay, maybe the powers that be are gradually taking hold of it. But repeatedly, because I know it was in one of the papers, the INEC chairman has come out to say that results will be transmitted, and that has been the position of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Where as to why the ruling party keeps, they are the ones who are, you say shaking, or what's the word? Power is sweet. Nobody wants to lose it. And so they are just only trying to ensure that everything is in order. But, we should give support to the independent national election, what we're talking about now is not only about the ruling party, we're talking about Nigeria as a country. At the end of the day, it may just end up favoring them.
So the conversation should be, what do we do to ensure
strengthen, yes,
that it works perfectly?
And that we give Nigerians, free, fair, credible election. If we win, we win. If we don't win, we go back again, we strategize.
And congratulate
the winner. As we congratulated Johnny in the 2015. When Jonathan congratulated Buhari.
Yeah, I bet you see in 2015 the card reader, was not a part of the law. INEC introduced it, so it was what it was. But in 2022, the president, Buhari, who is a member of APC, signed it into law. So whatever any other person is saying is merely an expression of an opinion. The process is on as it were. But one thing we cannot take away is the fact that there are communities that don't have network. That cannot be taken away. But then the number of communities where network is not as strong or there is no network coverage and all of that are perhaps negligible. They are not significant enough to pull us back as a country moving forward, with beavers. And INEC has said where there is no network, once the elections is done, they just move to the nearest point where there's network for the results to be uploaded and all of that. And it's important that INEC is meeting with the operators, and because over time there's been issues of sabotage, and all of that, and we need this moving forward. Because I can tell you on election day, by the time there is a network jam here and there, or there are issues and all, you can be sure about the kind of reaction that will come out of. So we need everybody to be on board on this moving forward.
Well, I can tell you that what INEC has done with beavers and electronic transmission of results is a huge improvement, huge, miles over what we saw INEC do in 2014, 2015. INEC introduced the card reader, and I can tell you that card reader was not tested in any election in Nigeria before it was used during the 2015 general election. So you can imagine Nigeria testing a new device on election day. Now, what has happened with beavers and IREF, that's the electronic transmission of results, and viewing online? INEC has tested with House of Assembly, House of Representatives, senatorial, governorship elections across the country. So INEC has learned from its mistakes in the past and have taken steps, practical steps, in testing this equipment. Like we said, the conversation should be what do we do to ensure its optimal use, and not to begin to you have a right to do so, but since, like Tebe says, it's already a law, you can't wish it away. You can express the opinion, but do more with opinion on how we can get it work better.
I think one of fear from their entertaining is the number of G needed to transfer it. 2G is what INEC said they will use to transfer results, and 2G is the least. Now we are going to 5G. In those communities, you what does 2G do? To send SMS and to make phone calls. 2G or 3G will do it.
And I mentioned, if these people in these local communities can get their money from the banks, through all sorts of why should it be an issue?
Okay, let's go for a break. When we come back, your mails and of course the National Social Investment Program.